All right, pre-show shenanigans. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but over the weekend, we had a lot of stuff happen. All right, we got Michigan news to cover, NCAA with an initial uh draft, I think is the terminology, an initial draft of potential
Punishment.
allegations. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure punishment, but like an
Well,
initial draft of
hey,
just
they
what
already
they'd
did
found.
more research into that than the NFL did in the Falcons tampering.
Oh,
So I mean, there's got to be
100%.
something. There's got to be
But
something.
hey, going back to the conspiracies last week, the verdict is still out. I'm still convinced the NFL forced Atlanta to draft Michael Penix as punishment for tampering with Kirk Cousins. You can't convince me otherwise. You cannot commit. There's
Very
zero
true.
explanation for first taking Penix there, but
Very
second,
true.
refusing to draft down. That whole storyline of was it Minnesota trying to move up a spot or two, and the Falcons were like, "Nope, we refuse" or something.
I think it
I
was
remember hearing something. Someone
no,
wanted to
it was
trade
the it
up,
was it was the I think it
or
was the
they
Bears
wanted to
at
trade
nine.
up
The
for
Bears at
Atlanta
nine wanted to move
for
up
Penix.
one spot with Atlanta. They wanted to swap 8 and 9, and Atlanta was like, "No, we
Yeah.
need to get this
Now
guy here."
that made absolutely no sense because Chicago already took Caleb. They're not now.
And
Actually, you
Chicago
can't.
is
You
not
can't put
trading
it.
with the
Okay,
Broncos
I
or
take that back.
Minnesota.
You
So
cannot put it past Chicago to draft Michael Penix there. You can't put it past them. They 100% could have. So from that angle, I get it. But we had a lot of stuff happen over the weekend. But there's one thing that really took me by surprise. The Zodiac Killer's grandson helped reveal that his grandfather was in fact the Zodiac Killer. Now, clearly, you did not see this over the weekend
could
based
not
on your
see that.
reaction, but Everett,
That was not where I thought this was going.
the Zodiac Killer's grandson, has helped confirmed many details that it doesn't exactly confirm. It essentially confirms his grandfather's the Zodiac Killer, but many things about this whole story all point to this man's grandfather being the Zodiac Killer. So if you remember Zodiac Killer, Bay Area killings, and one specific killing that this was all centered on, that it was this guy's piece of evidence
Can
for
I
his
just take a
grandfather.
wild guess? It's the police.
Yes. So there was a police station in Vallejo, California,
Yeah.
uh, and there were two murders that occurred. Now, the first officer to report to this crime scene happened to be this person's grandfather, Richard Hoffman. Richard Hoffman was a police officer working at the Vallejo Police Department, and he was the first person on scene and the woman murdered in like the first big Zodiac Killer killing was rumored to be dating an unnamed police officer at the Vallejo Police Department. That apparently, according to that murdered woman's friends, she would never tell them who the police officer was. She would just say, I am dating a police officer in Vallejo. Now, slight detail, that police officer in Vallejo was married to someone else at the time and was
Okay.
dating
All
this
right.
person on the side. And this, the grandson, his records, he was saying how uh, his grandfather's Zodiac Killer side, that's his mom's side of the family, how he like stopped speaking with his mom's side of the family when he was like 7 or 8 years old because his grandfather was very abusive, and the way he acted, like his father just distanced himself from his mother's side of the family. So he like was saying like, I have zero relationship with my grandfather, so I don't necessarily feel bad revealing this. But the guy was going out like, yeah, obviously I'm in shock figuring this out. Like, I didn't think my grandpa was the Zodiac Killer. I always knew he was a
Yeah, no,
bad guy,
I
but I
would
didn't
say
think
along
this.
things of finding out in your family, the even a serial killer, but the zodiac of all of them is
Yeah,
like
I feel like it's Zodiac Killer and DB Cooper are like the two. Who are those
if you ever
guys?
find out that your grandfather is DB Cooper, that's less of a oh my god, like a horrific shock. That's like, damn.
Now,
Like
I guess in theory, my grandfather could have been DB Cooper because he was an Air Force pilot. So, my
I
grandfather
feel like
could have
DB
been.
Cooper, even though they're both criminals, DB Cooper is on the complete opposite
Yeah.
side
Oh,
of the
yeah. No, it's
spectrum.
yeah. It's not a murder mystery with him. He just wanted money and jumped off of a plane. So many questions there still. So many questions with DB Cooper. But the Zodiac Killer, this evidence, it's way too clear. These murders all happened in Vallejo. He was a Vallejo police officer for that specific crime scene.
You're saying he also was the first dude that
was
showed
the
up
first police officer on the scene, and he also told all of the other police officers to leave the scene of the crime temporarily. And when that happened, Hoffman was the only officer on scene, and the evidence was tampered with conveniently when he was the only person on scene. Interesting. Very interesting. How the only officer on scene, now evidence is tampered with.
To figure that one out.
I don't think you need DNA evidence for that one. I think you can draw some conclusions with that. I think even Charlie from It's Always Sunny could have figured that one out. Don't think it's that difficult of an investigation to solve. But yeah, that's what really caught my eye over the weekend. I'm not sure if you didn't see anything about the Zodiac.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I was driving 19 hours down to New Orleans, so
fair enough.
Have paid too much attention.
Yeah, that's very fair. But yeah, that's what drew my attention over the weekend. If it,
I don't understand how it literally was just like. I mean, if it was so clear cut now that there was something like that going on, you would think that the police would have been like,
yeah. Now, like another thing that really interested me is that the grandson, he was like, yeah, I just Googled my grandpa's name, and there's like a million articles out there of people suggesting my grandpa's the Zodiac Killer. It's like that the dude was 35 years old. You're telling me it took him 35 years to at least just one time be like, oh, Richard, if I look up my grandpa's name, Zodiac Killer is the first thing to pop up. Maybe this guy has truly never heard about the Zodiac Killer until 5 days ago. And if that's the case, that's arguably more impressive than him figuring out.
Concerning that.
It is more concerning. Impressive because of how could you not, like, crazy to me. Dude, just a 35-year-old guy. He's like, my grandpa was the Zodiac Killer, and I have some good evidence. This was the best piece of evidence he had. He goes, my grandfather always spelled the word until wrong. He always spelled until with 2 L's. And in every Zodiac Killer letter, he spells until with 2 L's. And in the very first Zodiac Killer letter, he signed it RH at the bottom, Richard Hoffman.
So you're telling me the police department didn't put something together when...
Who are these?
I don't believe
this Richard Hoffman guy. I saw one rumor saying that Richard Hoffman was just very respected in that police department. They were well aware he was the Zodiac Killer, but they just protected him still.
I'm going to be honest. After you kill, 35 people or so.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't really buy that either. Fan theory. Okay, fan theory out there. But yeah, I feel like
also if the first murder was like a woman that was dating somebody in the police force, that dude at least has it out for him. Like that's just not.
How do we not draw these conclusions?
Yeah, no, that's not. I don't believe that.
Well, the other thing that I found very interesting is that there's interviews of Richard Hoffman has passed away, but there's interviews of him like where they're questioning him like he was a main suspect in the whole thing. Clearly he wasn't convicted of it, but like there's interviews asking him, like maybe not asking him directly if he was the Zodiac, but asking him as if he was the police officer responding, what was it like? And it's the most awkward interview of him recalling the details where it's so obvious that he's not revealing everything he knew that happened.
Hey, what I was originally thinking is you were going to start bringing up like the taxi cab or whatever when like the police officer cruiser was sitting there and they like saw the Zodiac like go past them after killing somebody, and then they just were like, oh, that's normal, and they let him, and then they realized it was him after the fact.
No, yeah, because he was in an unnamed, I think it was taxi car or cop. He was just in an unmarked car.
But it was like the taxi one was like back to back after that one or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact details, but according to the details, it was like that woman was with another guy at the time, not the police guy. The police guy finds them and like killed the woman, not the man. The man survived. And so that's how he was able to tell these details. Like, yeah, she was telling me that's Richard Hoffman. He's going to kill me. Like the woman said that while they were being chased by this guy. So I think it's quite.
Yeah, but then you get into the lover's lane stuff, and I don't really.
Actually, shit. You know, that's something I didn't quite consider. I feel like if there's a lover involved, hey, who knows? Maybe it was that guy, not Richard Hoffman, the other boyfriend who was shot and survived. Who, shit, Everett. Now I'm just having fun with it. Now this might become a 30-minute pre-show. Let's not do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we gotta cut it.
Zodiac Killer. Holy shit, though. Wow, that's got the cogs turning in the head. That has me interested in what some true crime stories. I have to whip out the BuzzFeed and solve. So I've never saw it.
I mean, it's okay.
Is that with Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Jr.'s in there? No, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, and God, what's his name?
Damn, Ruffalo went on
Jake
a nice.
Gyllenhaal.
Ruffalo went on a nice run of detective movies in that time frame. Now that I think
that was like Shutter Island, and then right into Now You See Me after that as well.
Holy shit! That was his role, detectives and the Hulk. Quite opposite. But yeah. But what a pre-show! Wow, that caught my eye. But without further ado, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Waterboy Podcast. Today is episode 245. And a lot of things happened over the weekend. Noah Lyles had an electric performance to win the 100-meter men's gold. The Michigan cheating scandal is back on in full effect. NFL training camp fully underway. Football season is back. And I don't have it planned today. I know you don't either, but yeah, we're officially in that age of the MLB season where the Dodgers can now get hot because the eyes are now taken off the Dodgers. It's now football season. All the eyeballs get moved to football. And so this is the time where the Dodgers go on a run. Quick thing I want to point out, comparing right now to last season, the Dodgers currently have a 4.5 game lead in the NL West, and they have 64 wins. A year ago, right now, the Dodgers had a 4.5 game in the NL West with 65 wins. So essentially identical to last season.
On pace.
But also, if we're looking at it from that angle, that means we're getting bounced by an 86-win team wildcard team that barely snuck in at the very, very end of the playoffs. So that's our pace. That's what it's looking to be this season. So don't be disappointed when that happens.
Well, I would hope that they would fire Dave Robertson if that happens.
Yeah, hopefully. But I think we got to start with the Olympics. I was saying, I believe I was saying this earlier.
I have a fun fact.
Okay.
I have a fun fact. There is a video. I don't know if you saw this, but there's a video of Michael Jordan playing peekaboo with like a girl, just in a suite, like, I don't know,
during the Olympics.
This is like when he was still playing professional. So this is a while ago,
on the
like
Bulls, yeah,
5 years, right? In a suite, just playing peekaboo with this girl. That girl happened to be Katie Ledecky. So I don't know if it's just the touch of, well, I shouldn't put it that way. Okay.
Bad words. Maybe it's just the greatness around greatness.
Aura of Michael Jordan being around Michael Jordan, that just inspires and just wills people to do so well athletically, or if it's something else. But I just thought that was a fun fact.
Yeah, like when I think of stuff like that, like there's obviously, well, this isn't obviously, but there's a picture of them two together. There's a picture of like Mbappe when he was 7 with Ronaldo. There's a picture of
Messi
like,
and
Lamine Yamal, the Barca guy, when he was like 10 months old. Messi wasn't even really Messi yet. And they have a photo shoot of like 22-year-old Messi holding 10-month-old Lamine. It's like, how did they know that? Like, how did they know Lamine Yamal was going to be a great soccer player?
Yeah, you want to talk about the Simpson writers doing stuff.
What was there a prophecy? Like it was Game of Thrones that Lamine Yamal was going to be the next great Spanish winger. What was that? But yeah, whenever you see pictures like that, it always makes you laugh a little bit.
Greatness inspires, I guess.
Yeah, like that just made me think of like the picture of like Vladdy Jr. and Vladdy Sr. obviously that's different father son. Like
Case
Mark
in
Jr.
point,
and
why
Mark
the
Sr.
Oakland
at
A's
the
have
Super
not been
Bowl.
good recently.
Wait, what is the A's?
Not around greatness.
I don't understand. All right, more shots at the A's. Everett with his battle with the A's going at it again. But yeah, Noah Lyles time though. Olympics. First off, what I want to say about Noah Lyles, before if we even dive into the beef with USA Basketball, regardless, I want to talk about the announcer for this event. What an all-time botched call. The announcer acts like it wasn't even close. And it was
he called the winner. He called the winner right when they crossed.
No. The announcing team made it seem like the Jamaican sprinter casually won that.
Yeah, I think Thompson.
Yeah, I don't know the name, not gonna lie, but what an all-time miss. Like all-time missed call. Wow.
Yeah, and then you go back on replay and it's like literally the
neck and neck, like a Lightning McQueen finish in cars.
Exactly what I was gonna say. And it's like not even neck and neck with just Thompson and Lyles, but also like off of the runner.
That was maybe what, like, the gap between first place Noah Lyles and the last place runner was like maybe
it was 5/1000ths of a second, or at least for first.
I was re-watching Usain Bolt runs. He would win by like 2 to 3 strides.
Now I know we have all seen the video, at least on Twitter. It's like the greatest relay of all time, and it's United States versus Jamaica. Like we've all seen that probably like 15 times now. Yeah, you want to talk about the greatest run of all time? That was this past run. That was the just greatest run of all time.
Yeah, and of course the competition really like everybody was in that race. I was like, what the hell? But like the one thing that really stuck out to me I didn't realize is that like that's not even Noah Lyles' race. Like 200 is Noah Lyles' race where he's like,
yeah, that's when he pulls out
expected to win. He's expected to win 200. Like I'm not sure easily or not, but he's just expected to win. Like 100, he was not expected to win. I don't think. Maybe he was, but like
clearly not. They called the other dude to win for him.
But like him winning that, like now he can talk his Noah Lyles 100% allowed to talk his stuff. He just won gold in the event that he wasn't supposed to win. Yeah, he's allowed to go on a little tour right now. I will say though, from a perspective of like the basketball beef, like I know Devin Booker came out and like still was like, yeah, Noah Lyles still not a fan of him. I do think it's very, very funny that the entire US men's basketball team were there for the 100-meter final. They all showed up to watch. They were like right there. And Noah Lyles winning that does shut them up. Like I do think, like one thing I will say about Noah Lyles,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know what beef you're talking about.
So Noah Lyles, like I don't remember when. It would make sense if this was like last year at the World Track Championship. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but Noah Lyles came out and made fun of NBA players for saying that they're world champions when they win a ring. He was like, world champions of what? The United States? Like the NBA is an American league. He wasn't attacking American athletes. He wasn't
Canada.
He wasn't attacking American athletes. He wasn't saying like the best basketball players in the world are European. He wasn't saying any of that. He was just making fun of the point that when the NBA crowns a champion, they call them the world champs. That was.
So you're just telling me Devin Booker is just soft, which was already known.
Devin Booker also has never won a world championship, so he doesn't even have a right to be upset. But like that's what spurred all these like debates, and like a majority of NBA players all turned on Noah Lyles or like, dude, screw this guy. But I'll be honest, Noah Lyles not only talked the talk, but he walked the walk. He just won his event that he wasn't supposed to win. And I believe tomorrow is the 200. And when he wins that, then it's officially like, now you can't say anything. Like he just did what he said he was going to do. And he can say he is the world champion for winning the Olympic event. So yeah, no, we got to give this one to Noah Lyles, guys. He won this one. Sorry, NBA. Noah Lyles won.
I mean, he's not wrong though.
Like, oh yeah, he's 100% right. It is funny that Super Bowl II world champions. Like you know, I
to
don't.
be fair, also there's no other country that like.
Yeah, like, you know,
Flag football's
CFL we
different. It's gonna
don't
be in the next
count.
Olympics,
Italian
but
Football League, no, that doesn't count. Like, no, yes, they are the best team in the world. However, the only teams that are competitive in the world are in the United States. So it's funny. It is ironic that they call themselves world champs. It's, you know, you just got to find a way to make it even more meaningful, or whatever championship it is. You got to find a way to make it even bigger.
no, I fully agree. I mean, like, I don't know why they'd be angry when you're talking about like the Olympics and stuff, and the Olympics are really what determines world championship status
Like,
or not.
quite literally the definition of a world competition is
Yeah,
the
like
Olympics.
I don't really, yeah, no, I don't really know. I'm like Devin Booker's one thing, but like other
Oh yeah,
NBA
no,
players
Devin
too,
Booker, I'm
into,
not
like,
the
I don't
biggest fan of. Like,
yeah,
I'm just
soft.
not the largest fan of Book, but yeah, I'd say, you know, last little fun side thing I've seen about the Olympics. At what, like, let me start with this. LeBron James in France. He can't go out to dinner or in public or anything. He'd be mobbed. It'd be the same thing if he was in the United States. He's such a celebrity that the French people would crowd him and surround him if he was out. I think the same thing for Kevin Durant. I think the same thing for Devin Booker. And not on the team, but if Jimmy Butler was on the team, he would not be allowed to go outside. He would get mobbed everywhere he goes. But I'm trying to think, where's the line drawn for Olympians where you can casually go out in France and no one would recognize
I
you?
want to. Tyrese Halliburton.
Of course. Like Bam, okay, this thing about Bam, objectively speaking, Bam would not necessarily draw attention, but people would know the Olympics are going on. They just see a really tall guy and they'd be like, are you on Team USA? He would say yes. And then the first question would be, do you know LeBron James? That's probably how that interaction would go.
Or Steph.
No, yeah, Steph could not go out. He'd be mobbed.
But I think looking at the team right now, the guys
Halliburton,
that I would
yes.
say, Halliburton 100%. And
100%.
Holiday is probably it.
Holiday, dude, Derek White would be like, he would get the French treatment towards Americans where they don't even look you in the eyes.
That's Derek White
balding already.
Derek White might actually get some because they did just win the finals.
But my whole point is not like it wouldn't. He might get recognized by somebody, but they'd be like, "Oh, what's up, Derek?" Kevin Durant, though, an entire mob would form. You get what I'm saying? There's a bit like,
yeah,
you see what I mean? Yeah, like, no, Tatum, I don't think a mob would form. I think Tatum wouldn't be able to go out.
No, they would Tatum, the mob wouldn't form. There would be people running away from him. They get away from him.
But I like Tatum, I believe, is at that point where he's big enough.
No, Tatum is that. I would say Anthony Edwards is probably very easily recognized out there. And if you want to argue, if you're about to argue that that's not true, my next argument is going to be not just because of basketball, but uncut gems. Or not Uncut Gems.
Okay, I was Uncut Gems.
No, the other movie.
I don't think he's well. I think it's kind of just the same thing. Like, he's same level as Tatum, where it's like, yeah, they but it's not like a mob. Like Devin Booker would have a mob. Like, he dated Kendall Jenner. Devin Booker's way bigger than
keyword dated.
But it doesn't matter.
If he was still dating her, then yes.
I mean, French people 100% know Devin Booker more than Anthony Edwards. If anything, you should take that in a good way. You don't want French people to know Anthony Edwards. Then Anthony Edwards is a little baby.
I'm not saying.
Thank God Ant doesn't do the Met Gala. He's above that shit.
I'm not saying that they would not recognize Devin Booker, but I am saying I don't think that they're gonna go up to him like that because they would probably recognize him because he dated Kendall Jenner. But
no, I think that Devin Booker's big.
All right, man. I think that's a bold statement.
I'm just okay. If you
international recognition,
I'm not saying there's many people, but Devin Booker is 100% one of the most popular players on Team USA right now. Number 1's Braun. Number 2's Steph. Number 3's KD. Who's number 4?
Let me pull the team back up. Hold on.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know the team off the top of my head either.
I would say, look, if we want to go in actual order, I would say LeBron James, Steph,
Yeah.
KD.
Yeah.
I mean,
easily
Kawhi, if
top
Kawhi
four.
was still there, but he's not. Joel Embiid, potentially just because he's from another country.
Maybe.
That's just more. I feel
I
like
also
people from other
he has
countries
a
tend to
tall
have more
factor.
European recognition.
He also has the tall
Um,
factor. Like Bam, he would be pointed out as an Olympic athlete quite quickly. It's my bigger
Yeah, that's
point
the other
there.
thing. He might not be recognized for playing
Yeah,
basketball.
yeah, no, but so like a guard like Drew Holiday would not be recognized. Devin Booker's easily the fourth most popular player on this team.
I mean, AD is up there.
Booker's more popular than AD. Booker's more popular than both of them. But anyway, I was just saying, Bam.
I mean, Embiid
could go by.
Is it's bold. I would take a guess that Embiid might be more popular. As an international context, yeah, I think Embiid might be more popular than Devin Booker.
Maybe. But like, I mean, I think you're.
So you're not, but you're not saying
sleeping on
no,
Booker.
which means
you are sleeping on.
I mean, I'm not sleeping on him. I'm not saying that he's unpopular. I'm just saying that I don't know if he is the fourth. If he's the fourth most recognizable player on Team USA from an international standpoint.
Okay. Sure. Joel Embiid might have it. But to say Anthony Edwards is bigger than Booker, I do think is all right. We're gonna.
I never said that he was bigger than Devin Booker.
Okay. All right. Good.
I never said that was the case at all. I just said that he might be recognized because of other things outside of basketball.
I did just say you were bothered when I brought up Anthony Edwards, but I think if I were in your shoes, I don't want Anthony Edwards getting recognized in France. I don't want Anthony Edwards to care about anything other than Minnesota basketball.
I don't know if bothered would be the terminology that I would use when you brought up.
Not bothered, but no. If I ever see Anthony Edwards doing a French Paris Fashion Week, then I'm like, dude, what the hell?
I don't think Anthony Edwards would ever do that. The thing you would see Anthony Edwards, it would be him holding a giant, like, foot-long baguette and like have like his little like.
I think he'd be using the baguette as a sword too.
I'm like envisioning he's got like the red, what are the hats called? What are the hats called there?
Fedora?
Yeah, like a fedora. He's got like a red fedora on, like the classic.
Oh, a beret, like a French
beret.
hat. A beret.
Yeah, he's got the classic one on. He's got like the 6-foot long baguette, and he's just out there just bullying.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what I'm expecting from an Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I also hope that Anthony Edwards is not a Cancun guy in the summer. I don't know where the vacation spot should be, but I hope it's not Cancun.
I think he's a basketball court vacation guy.
Yeah. And that even checks out with this movie because he probably had a Michael Jordan-ish type thing where when they weren't filming, they were running 5-on-5 practices with him destroying Hernan Gomez all day.
No, you realize it probably wasn't Hernan Gomez. He was probably playing 1-on-1 with Adam Sandler.
Oh, and in that case, Adam Sandler was definitely humbling the shit out of him. We all know that's true. Like, like pickup basketball is way different than NBA basketball. Adam Sandler knows pickup basketball. Yeah. I know Anthony Edwards knows pickup basketball as well too, but not to the level of Adam Sandler. No,
you just know
we're comparing apples to oranges there.
You know, the first time they played 1-on-1, Adam Sandler definitely got some very good licks in because Ant was like, "Oh, like I've heard things, but it's still like."
If I were to guess, very first possession, obviously Adam Sandler starts with the ball. Quick little check, immediately cash in his face. Winners. And Sandler calls winners while the ball's in the air. 100% that happened. 100% that happened. If not, put it in a movie. Give me credits.
Before we
I think David Spade would play a great me. Just putting that out there. But yes.
Before we get into college football stuff that we definitely have to go over, I've got one thing, and I want to embrace.
Talk about some NFL stuff first.
It's NFL related, but I
got some NFL things.
Okay, this is probably not going to be the direction you're expecting, but it is NFL related. So let's embrace it.
Most likely not.
Over the weekend, Luke Combs brought his friends on stage
Okay.
as a
Yeah.
fantasy football punishment.
This is great.
That they had to sing. I think they sing like
Not
I don't know
sure.
if it was Blue Switch. They had to sing something
A
in
song.
front of the entire crowd, like on the jumbotron, everything. Sing. That was their fantasy football punishment. So that made me think,
by the way. I love you, Luke Combs.
Fantastic.
You now have a fan in me. I wasn't a fan.
It did
I liked you. Now I love
what would happen. It did make me think what would happen if Luke Combs lost. Like, what's the punishment?
What would they make
like,
him do?
Equal?
What could be,
like,
you know,
I don't really know.
Yeah, him singing on stage, that's what he does.
Normal.
So what could he have to do public embarrassment wise in front of an audience?
Level. Because everybody knows him, which makes it difficult. But this is the part I really wanted to debate.
Wait, okay. We're not debating what would he do to be punished because my brain's going there. Okay.
I know, that's why I'm
dropping it.
But on this level,
I was gonna say make him sing "Hips Don't Lie" Shakira and do a dance to it.
On this level of public embarrassment, what is an equal level of punishment for a fantasy football loss for somebody like me or you?
Like a casual person that doesn't have access to that.
Person, but like that's like this. Like what is like the worst form of public embarrassment like this? That's not harmful, but it's very embarrassing. That's on the same scale.
Something with like dressing up on a college campus. I feel like it's the easy first initial thought, but I want to go deeper. The first fantasy football punishment that like my close friend group came up with. So we live near relatively close to 3rd Street Promenade. They have some fountains on 3rd Street Promenade where people throw coins in, like a wishing well type thing. But there are a ton of fountains on 3rd Street Promenade. And the first punishment that my home league came up with is that the loser last place team, they have to go to 3rd Street Promenade and jump in 2 fountains. So jump in one, and you got to walk with that wetness all the way over to another and get in that.
Who lost? I know one of them would have belly flopped into it too.
Now, the person who lost this to this day has never done the punishment. And it got so bad to one point where we were all so sick and tired of it that we confronted this kid's mother, informing her the situation. Like, hey, Mrs. Yada Yada, for the story, we'll call her Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, your son has not participated in this punishment, which he said he would do over like 5 years ago and has never done it. Are you okay with your son jumping into the pool? And she was like, oh, of course. Yeah. You haven't done it already, Eric? You haven't already jumped in the fountain? You should have done that 5 years ago. I'll drive you guys right now. But pretty much my friend
always
Eric,
my favorite thing when the parents are like, yes, do the punishment, because we had that experience once too.
Yeah, there was one occasion where I was startled when your mom was surprisingly very down for a punishment where I was like, what's going on right now?
This was not the way I expected.
Didn't think the adult in the room would support this. But yeah, it's always fun.
Especially after our previous year's punishment, you would think that they would be very anti, but
if I were to think of something for us,
I feel like
dressing up's always an easy
comedy club. Like you just have to go.
Yeah, that's a popular one I've heard of recently. Go do unscripted stand-up set for shit. I was gonna say like 20, you have to 15 minutes. That's even. I feel like that though, there's some like pressure relief.
So
if you make them go up being like, yes, yeah.
You've seen. So I'm just thinking like anything that they.
Yeah, I've seen that bit where they tell them jokes.
I'm saying anything that they do in any given episode is what I would equate to probably a punishment.
Yes, yeah. You could go look at any Impractical Jokers episode and you can find phenomenal ideas in there. But yeah. Comedy club stand-up minute, that's a pretty popular one I've heard recently. I would say though, if you're going to make someone do that, do not tell them to purposely bomb. That takes pressure off. You have to tell them you have to go up and try. So when they do bomb, it hurts even more. That could work too. Like that's only funny if you just make the joke so egregiously over the top, like pushing the line that it's just so awkward for them. You will get a kick out of it. But I think in terms of a payoff, there is some risk involved. What if the performance is good? there's so much risk
Hey, good
involved.
for them.
What if it's good?
If they do it,
the
good for them.
reward is that person putting in effort, trying to make a performance, and then just going up and bombing. That's where you'll get the true enjoyment. Like you can give him the jokes, that's one option. But I think the most reward you could get is make him go up there and genuinely try it and seeing him fail while trying. And he's genuinely upset that he bought. Like, that's how you get the biggest kick out of it. you make him try. Yeah. Or they have to keep on doing comedy sets until like 5 people in the audience
that's on like the same par as the TikTok punishments.
Now, the TikTok punishment thing that I'll say is like it is slightly bad to a degree, but like that's not that bad.
It is bad when you're like, yeah, get 100,000 likes on this or something.
That's just an unrealistic punishment.
Or 100,000 views, I guess, and it's just like, ugh.
I think that's fair. Yeah, 100,000 views.
I mean,
that's fair enough, but
it's gonna take you some time though.
Yeah, no, 100,000 likes is just like, that's not gonna happen. But if you tell them like you gotta do it till you get like 1,000 likes, that's doable, very doable.
Yeah, I mean,
those I'm all cool with, but yeah, like I think a comedy club's a very popular one right now. Maybe like I've seen some where they like run a half marathon. That's ridiculous. You're not gonna have that be like your fantasy punishment. Like, what are we talking about?
I wouldn't classify that as like a punishment. Like
that's just
now,
like,
you know what would be a punishment? Having to do that
like a 5K,
like those inflatable dinosaur costumes.
Yeah, or 5K, like a 5K in a dinosaur, like 5K in a wetsuit, like shit like that.
In a wetsuit, you're trying to get somebody killed.
Evil. But yeah, there's some evil ones. Like, what else could I possibly think of that could be on that par? I think comedy club's the nice, easy.
It's pretty funny.
It's fun. It's funny and it's harmless. Like, sure, you get a little wet. Okay. That's a way I would take that over running a 5K in a wetsuit any day of the week.
100%.
Any day of the week. Yeah, like, yeah, no. Like, I do think the most fun punishments are nothing crazy.
Like, you can get handcuffed to somebody else if you have 2 losers, I guess. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, that could work. Like, yeah. I guess depends how people set up their leagues and whatnot. But yeah, no, I think that's an interesting point. But okay, some more NFL stuff. Go on here. The Chargers won't stop charging ever. It doesn't matter if you bring in Harbaugh. Doesn't matter if you bring in Ben Herbert. Doesn't matter if you bring in Minter. Joe Ortiz knew everyone. No, it doesn't matter. The Chargers will always be the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert is out for training camp. He is hopeful to return for week 1 of the season. The key word is hopeful.
Big hope. Big hope.
But the second part of that sentence is but Justin Herbert is expected to play with pain in his foot throughout the entire regular season. Now I don't exactly have my math correct here, so bear with me, but I believe this is now Herbert's 5th season in the NFL, I believe.
Sounds right.
21, 22, 23. Yes, this is his 5th season in the NFL. I believe this is now his 4th season having some sort of injury before week 8 during the season. So there's an 80% success rate that he'll get hurt.
I feel like that first time that he wasn't injured was when
because the starting quarterback's lung was punctured by a team doctor. So if we're going off of quarterback injury track record, 100%, shooting 100%. A quarterback gets hurt every year. We at least have that consistency
like
down.
Fire some medical staff.
Thought we did do that like 3 years ago, but I think we got to do another round of firing. But Herbert's out for training camp. Bosa has left practice. I feel like this is now the 9th straight training camp that Bosa has left practice during camp. I'm not sure if he's ever I'm not sure if he's actually ever gotten to the Monday practice of week 1 in the preseason ever in his NFL career. I don't think he's ever gotten to that first Monday of the preseason. Don't think he has. He will be out for an undetermined time. Junior Colson Oh, thank God. Junior Colson is back to working out on the sidelines with trainers. Woo! Thank God. Wow. We're getting healthy. All right. I mean, this first things first, Herbert being out for camp, new system and everything. We weren't going to throw the ball much anyway. Yeah, we may run the ball 80% of the time for like the first 8 weeks. Like I
the only problem with that?
3rd and long, draw. I can't wait. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal to watch. 3rd and long.
You know what makes it
think it's play action? Nah, we running stretch. We're running stretch.
You're running stretch with Gus Edwards.
Yeah, Gus the Bus. Yeah, Kamani Vidal is also injured right now, off to the sidelines, not practicing with the first teams. Trey Pipkins is also hurt right now, off to the side. And with that move, Pipkins was supposed to play guard. This makes negative sense to me. Actually, it makes slight sense. We're now playing around with the O-line. I've heard rumors for a while that Joe Alt is very bad at right tackle. Very bad at right tackle. Left tackle was his, that's, where he was drafted as, that's where his pre-draft ranking came in, expecting him to play left tackle. Now a big part of his pre-draft hype was he can play all over the place. And when people said that, some lazy scouting, because he played multiple positions at Notre Dame. However, he did not shine in those other positions. He shined at left tackle. He did not shine at right tackle. And the reports coming out is he's looking so bad at right tackle, they have now switched him to left, and Slater is now playing right. I've never heard of a move like that. Rashawn Slater is one of the best tackles in the NFL. We are moving him to right tackle for Joe. Oh my God. Like Slater left tackle was one of the only certainties that this team had that I loved. I was like, at least Slater win healthy. Slater's amazing.
If it's concernably different, they'll put Slater back at left tackle and they'll move Joe Alt to another position.
Yeah, but now I trust Slater to be able to switch over to right, but I'm not 100% confident Joe Alt's going to be a lockdown left tackle from year one. It's concerning to me seeing these O-line problems. Pipkins is out. Salyer's also out. Like, we have a weird line practicing.
I see your concern for Joe Alt and his inability because of what you've heard, but I raise you this. Keep in mind, he is a 6'8"
big boy. Oh, I know. Massive.
Who lives in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota, in a wooden cabin without a phone.
Oh, yeah, very true. If I expect anyone to have the framework to develop into a different offensive line position, it's him. It's him. I trust him to get there one day. Do I expect it to happen this year? Especially with all these injuries going on.
The season's kind of already out the window from my perspective.
Yeah, but the Chargers need to start off hot to go 500, considering we have a 5-week stretch where it's guaranteed. Maybe you don't want them
to start off hot then.
No, exactly.
Like, here's something else though. Unrelated to the Chargers. This is what I've been hearing. We already knew Drake Maye was a really raw prospect. We knew Drake Maye was a really raw prospect. But apparently he is so raw as a prospect that Joe Milton, who is even rawer, somehow looks better than him.
Yeah, I have an initial opinion on this, but keep going.
So that's moderately concerning to me.
I
shouldn't say hate, but we do not like Joe Milton on this podcast. We both think that he's not a very good quarterback.
My first thoughts on all of this. First things first, the Patriots, more than anyone, as NFL fans, I know Bill Belichick's not there. It's still the New England Patriots. So as an NFL community, we should be well rehearsed and aware by now that anything that comes out of the words of the New England Patriots organization, you cannot believe for a nanosecond. You cannot believe a single peep that comes out of the New England Patriots organization. Okay. Not a single thing can you trust. Hearing all these reports, to me, I believe absolute baloney. Okay. And anyone who has been a college football fan for the past 4 years would know that this is absolute
unless
baloney.
You're a Tennessee fan.
No, they're also quite aware.
Right?
Now,
They
Joe
really have they
Milton,
finally realized.
they knew the whole time, especially after watching last season compared to what Hendon Hooker did. They were like, yeah, no, Joe Milton's not a great quarterback. So Joe Milton, okay, initially won the Michigan starting quarterback job in 2020, I believe. Maybe it was 19. Joe Milton's been in college for a while.
Yeah, it'd been
2020 would make more sense. Joe Milton wins the starting job at Michigan and quickly loses it. Why did he lose that job? Because he can't play quarterback. So he probably left, transferred to Tennessee, sat behind Hendon Hooker for a little bit, and at one point was like flirting with like running away with the job. And then Nico Imaliava jumped into the race. Why was that the case? Oh yeah, because Joe Milton can't play quarterback. That's why it was up to a true freshman race with a fifth-year senior. And so now in the NFL, Joe Milton is now apparently beating out Maye or looking better than him. I'm not sure if the reports he's beating him out or with the ones, I don't know. But for anyone who just watched Joe Milton play, we don't even need to talk about Drake Maye yet. Just Joe Milton. Anyone who watched Joe Milton play football knows that he is not an NFL quarterback, especially not maybe one day, but today he's not. Not in this year, 2024. He is
everything
not.
That people said Anthony Richardson was gonna be going into last season, like cannot throw, he can't hit the broadside of the barn. Like
that was my words. Can't hit the side of the barn. Those are my words.
Well, I've heard other people say it, but your words especially. All of that is exactly what Joe Milton actually is. So,
like, I would say arm-wise, yeah, but like, you know, Joe Milton's not the runner that AR-15 is.
The problem.
Joe Milton, like
that's the problem.
Joe Milton has a cannon. Okay, like if we put every single, not even NFL quarterback, if we took every person on earth that considered themselves a quarterback, I bet Joe Milton would be top 5 in arm strength distance. How far would that
over Mahomes, Allen?
I say he's 5th.
Listing the NFL alone.
He throws the ball very far, but he doesn't throw it accurately or where it's supposed to go or know where to throw it or any of that important stuff. So, you know, arm strength is one thing, but no, he's not a good quarterback. You know, tangibles and measurements are one thing. Like, sure, he has the arm strength. You can't take that away from him. You can't. He does. There's just throws. There are certain throws that he could make, not today, hypothetically. Throws that he could make that other quarterbacks can't based off pure physical abilities. True. He just can't do that. You know, it's pure upside hope. Like, if I could have him throw laser rainbow moon balls all in one and have everything be a perfect pass, yeah, it'd be great. It will take 18 miracles to get there, though. The odds of it happening are so low. But yeah, I don't really believe much of these reports at all. But
I just was saying, let's just assume that, like,
who's the other quarterback on that team?
Drake Maye, Jacoby Brissett, and him.
Yeah, like I think it'd be
Bailey.
safe.
I think Bailey's still there.
I think he's gone. I could be wrong, but I think it's safe to just bet with sure. I guess if we want to take these reports somewhat seriously, like, all right, Jacoby's the starter week 1.
I think that was kind of safe and sound either way, but it's just like, if there's any semblance of truth to that rumor, I would be very concerned about Drake Maye's ability to develop as a player.
Oh, yeah,
100%. That's the last player that, like, I would want to be compared to in a negative light.
Yeah, no, if I'm Drake Maye, I would. Now, you know, maybe there's a chance that this is Patriots trying to motivate Drake Maye, have him compared to the other rookie quarterback. I don't know. I have no idea what.
Now, speaking of other rookie quarterbacks,
game plan is there with Mayo.
JJ McCarthy has reportedly looked better than every other quarterback on the Vikings roster. He's probably not going to start, but he's only thrown 1 interception of all of camp.
How has Sam Darnold looked? Do you have any reports?
Not good.
Because I'm pulling for my dog. Fight on.
He's like,
I cannot wait for my first fight on touchdown. Darnold to JA. It's going to be so. JA has his own problems going on right now. But
It might not happen.
Bro, I woke up this morning. I'm like, Jordan, are you Jordan? Jordan. What happened to the guy that I saw scooting around USC with Crocs? What happened to that guy? What happened to him? So innocent 2 years ago. So
21.
Yeah, literally. Got paid like $8 million signing bonus. That's what happened.
But yeah, I mean, like I'm increasingly feeling more likely that JJ McCarthy will start sooner than later. I still don't think that he should, but it is kind of, music to my ears hearing that what he's looking like compared to all these other quarterbacks, especially Drake Maye, because obviously
who else are the quarterbacks on Minnesota?
Jaren Hall, Nick Mullins.
Okay, so it's just Darnold and JJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did just in like 10 minutes ago or whatever. I mean, it makes sense, but Kirk Cousins reportedly stated that if he knew the Falcons' plans in the draft, he would have waited going back to Minnesota more. Because obviously he didn't go to Minnesota because they were like upfront to him about being like, hey, we're drafting a quarterback. Like they were upfront to him about it. The Falcons just went under the table and they were like, yeah, no, we're not going to do anything. Like we want you, whatever. And then they still drafted one. So, well, maybe, but
yeah.
So that's just another thing.
I would say, yeah, for JJ's situation, like, of course, we're looking long-term here. Like, if the best case scenario is to put him in and help him progress, well, let's do it. Yeah, let's go for it. Also, I feel like the main goal this season is just break him in, get him NFL, like, on-field performance is one thing, but like the goal of this year for the Minnesota Vikings is JJ McCarthy. Joseph James McCarthy is the goal this year. Get him NFL ready.
Gotta get him NFL ready because as of this past weekend, we now have even more information that indicates that he might not have been NFL ready because of how much cheating was going on in the Michigan, Oregon, and the Michigan football team.
Yeah, we can
how do you like that transition
into that right now?
Transition?
Yeah, okay. JJ McCarthy, his whole scenario. Real quick, when this stuff all came out, my very first thought was, who I feel the most bad for? The players who will have their whole performance and everything questioned and put in doubt.
Wait, 100%. I was curious. I was thinking about it when I first heard about that. I was curious, like, how many coaches at the combine do you think asked JJ McCarthy about that stuff?
I bet that was the number one question he had to answer in all of his. I bet the number one question he had to answer in all of his pre-draft interview process was, can you explain the second half of Penn State, how the very first game after the cheating scandal came out, you were not trusted to throw the ball one time in a one-score game? Any explanation for that? And if he says, pound the ball, do it, coach it, that's not an answer. If I was a quarterback and not one pass call, I would be screaming at my coaches. What? We're 3rd and 8. You're not gonna let me throw? We're running.
Maybe he's gonna say, "Yeah, no, I busted up my shoulder in the first half." So
that's his excuse. He knows the answer. My other piece, when I look at a clip that was resurfacing today, lot of interactions on it, which made me chuckle because when I immediately saw it, I kind of knew what it meant. But 2022 Ohio State, Michigan, the very first Ohio State drive of the game, Ohio State's on like the 12-yard line, knocking on the door, about to punch it in. They call an audible, change it at the line of scrimmage. CJ gets a call, changes it. The second CJ makes the change at the line of scrimmage, the camera pans over to the sideline, and you see one Connor Stalions standing right next to defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. Stalions, like a little meerkat, is peering at the Ohio State sideline. He gets the signal, and Stalions immediately has some pistol shooting hand signal. The second you see Stalions put his hand up, Minter immediately does the same thing, and the entire sideline does it. The entire sideline immediately starts doing it. Now, if you want to claim Michigan didn't have knowledge and it was just Stalions acting alone, sure, you can get off on an argument saying that Stalions was just the decoder and it could just been told to the team that if you ever see a hand signal from any coach, just copy it, mirror it, I can understand that 100% sure. But what I can't understand is Jesse Minter on the remember first offensive drive of the game. Okay, if they were legally stealing signs, that's not a lot of time to steal signs. To get it on the first. Not a lot of time to get that on the first drive of the game. So if I was Jesse Minter, the fact that Jesse Minter did not question it for a second, immediately trusted Connor Stallions to put up that signal. That's where I draw my questions. That's where I raise eyebrows, because if I was a defense, now I don't know. I'm not a coach. I don't know. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm not a coach. I'm not sure. But if I was a defensive coordinator against Ohio State as Michigan, it's the biggest game of the year. Win this and you go to the Big Ten championship. Win that and you're in the playoff. The biggest game of the year. Would you necessarily trust your decoder word for word, sign for sign? Would you trust him without knowing some of his methods beforehand? How are you stealing these signs so well? What are you doing? How are you 100% right?
Like, at some point, though,
you wouldn't have any interest.
Ignorance is bliss. Like you'd probably be like, this is the biggest game. I kind of need to make sure you're on your game.
Yeah. You would maybe have, I don't know, one conversation with him on how he decodes, maybe just one, right? Just one conversation. How do you decode these signs so well? That'd be my first thing.
At least at some point during the season.
My other thing, though, is, wouldn't there at least be a time where someone on staff would be like, why is Connor not in the facility every day? Like, why? Like, we're about to go play Toledo in the Big House. Why did Connor fly to Western Michigan last night? Where is he? Did that question ever get asked? Why? How come this guy who's never in the room, never in the facility, why is he trusted the most with all this science? Like, huh? Why do we trust a guy who's hardly ever in office? Huh? For the Michigan fans claiming that no coaches had any knowledge other than Connor Stallions, that's asking me to believe that your coaches are completely ignorant, stupid, and just unaware, which I also on top of that believe. I refuse to believe.
If that was the case, why would Sharon Moore delete
52 text messages the day the report came out?
Why would 7 different coaches be in the violation? And why would hard drives be removed from multiple different computers?
Yeah, a lot of questions here. And yeah, I think we might be able to have a suggestion. Maybe at least Sharon Moore had knowledge. Okay. But
that was my,
let's say that. Let's say it was just Sharon Moore who had knowledge. Okay, let's say it was only Sharon Moore. Nobody else had knowledge, and only Sharon Moore did. Guess what? Jim Harbaugh is still under fire for that, for lack of institutional control and not being aware. He can be punished for not being aware of what was going on. That's what happened to my first head coach when he was fired. I've already had a head coach fired for that. So that's not a reason to say you're off scot-free. That's the same thing. Jim Harbaugh not knowing. The punishment, it might be a little slightly reduced, but you're not off scot-free just because, the head guy didn't know. Guess what? Your employer was still cheating. Your employee was still cheating. That falls on you. You're the one who let that happen and didn't sniff it out. That is your fault. That's how it
works in every single thing in the
That's how life works.
If you as a company have one dude who does something to screw over somebody else,
guess what? It reflects back on the heads who let that happen. It's their job to know if their employees are doing malpractice, whatever word you want to use. So any of those, you can't say that's a reason.
I will just say, I believe that that's the case. I do think, based on the in-depth information that we just got, Harbaugh, either they stopped looking into him after he left.
Well, nothing can happen to him now he's in there. Any coach that left,
legitimately, he was not aware of that kind of level of stuff, and it was Sharon Moore, who was his 2, who was really pulling those things. And if that's the case, that's even more problematic for the program now than if it was Harbaugh knowing and Harbaugh left.
Well, also, if it you can't tell me it was just Sharon Moore, that clip of him next to Minter, Jesse Minter clearly trusted Connor Stallions. So
Oh no, but I'm saying being like the head honcho of the
I get what you're
whole
saying.
organ, like the whole plot, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as an Ohio State fan now,
But
I
here's the thing
want
I
it to
even want
more
to
come
know.
down on Sharon Moore
Here's the
now,
thing I
from
want
my
to know even
perspective.
more. How did this all start? Like, did one day Connor Stallions go up to Sharon Moore and he just showed him his Michigan manifesto, and like Sharon Moore was like, "All right, like
Now
I have an
that's
idea for
something I
you."
know the documentary won't reveal, but damn it, I want it to so badly. I
I
know
want
it
to
won't.
know that so bad.
Yeah, I mean, they better have they better have a lot of time dedicated to this manifesto. We better get like a 30-page preview. I'm
They should
telling you
just
right
sell it.
now, I'll read that whole thing. I will annotate that whole thing like a book report. Okay. Like if he releases it, I will give a 5-minute book report on this
We're
podcast.
going back to fifth grade.
I will write 2 pages.
Hey, that's a lot more than some fifth graders.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm reading right now, unlikely to vacate title, not expected to face retroactive penalties, which I think I kind of expected that to happen, even
Well,
though
it doesn't mean they
just
still
the other
can't get.
day.
It doesn't mean they can't get death penalty or something in the meantime. Like that's only
Yeah, no,
retroactive,
death
meaning
penalty
it's
is
only from
not
what
vacating
has happened.
wins, but they won't death penalty them. That'd be ridiculous. Even though I'd love it, I'd love every second of it. They won't do that though, but I'd love it. What I think is most likely going to happen is Sharon Moore will be suspended for some period of time. I don't know, probably like 4 games. Who cares? But I think what's most likely it'll be some relative USC punishment where they just have scholarship reductions for a few years. Maybe
Which is
just 1
great.
year.
It's just so coincidental that the NCAA is raising scholarships at the same time.
Yeah, no, the punishment won't hit them as hard.
It like
Good
literally
point.
won't matter.
Didn't even think about that.
Won't matter.
Yeah, honestly, if you're Michigan, that's your punishment. You're like, sweet. Well, I think that's most likely going to happen. Like
The most damning thing would be if I don't think they could do it because it's technically not associated with the program itself, but if they were like, yeah, NIL reduction.
yeah, I'm not exactly how they do
but you
that.
can't really do that.
That
or you
could be
like
a thing
just
too.
can't use the portal or something. I don't know.
Now I'll be honest, like Michigan, they've had NIL issues recently, so that would actually probably be a more effective punishment. I don't know how you'd mandate that though. Like, it's not like there's there isn't an NIL salary cap right now where you're only allowed to pay X amount max to play. Like that just isn't in place.
Well, there might be in the American Conference soon, which is dumb as fuck. But
nothing like handicapping your own teams from competing.
Right.
Good job. Good
it's
job.
What the G5 loves to do.
Yeah, that's the stupidest thing I've actually ever heard of in my life.
Tell me about it.
Like, if anything, the Big Ten might start putting in minimum requirements. You have to pay this amount NIL every year because we need to beat the SEC.
Their yearly fee for you to be in the conference.
Yeah, no, it's evolving, the landscape of college football. But,
okay, well, what else did you have in college football?
Some other things about the whole cheating scandal thing. If I were to like think real quick about like the effect that the cheating had on Michigan, I think it's just very interesting going back to Jim Harbaugh's start at Michigan, how Jim Harbaugh constantly complained to the Big Ten about Ryan Day cheating. Every single offseason, he would go to the Big Ten commissioner and say Ryan Day is cheating, recruiting violation, yada, yada. They were the boys who cried wolf. Okay. Michigan were the kings of calling Ohio State cheaters when Ohio State would routinely lose in the playoff or get bounced, slaughtered by an SEC team. Michigan was the first fan base to be like, yeah, look at how Ohio State is when they can't cheat. Like, they were always calling us cheaters. And I was like, all right, whatever. Hope that makes you feel better.
You want to be talking about being born on third
and
base.
So now that it's flipped around and now the neutral people in the world like Colin Cowherd are saying Ohio State's crying wolf and crying about their cheating rivals. For all those people, short-term memories, it's a crazy disease that has plagued the college football world. It's really, really disgusting and gross because people forget the entire 2000s and 2010s. Like it just didn't even happen. There was a period of time where the narrative in Ohio State, Michigan was just like, oh God, why do we even turn this game on? Like, did Michigan even field a roster this year? And they turn it around and make it competitive off the back of a cheating scandal, which did directly influence on-field performance. And now instead of Michigan, who got caught cheating, guys, let's make that clear, I don't know how they're now the victim in this.
It does also make sense how
victim
TCU
when
ended up
they
being
got
the one
exposed?
team to beat them, because they probably were like thinking the whole season, didn't think anything of TCU, and then TCU was actually doing well, and they were like,
remember, TCU was not supposed to make the playoff at the end there. USC was supposed to make it until they lost to Utah in the Pac-12 championship game. Michigan was not expecting TCU to make that playoff at all. And then what happened? Now, also, important thing about that game, TCU all year ran a 3.35. To change it up for that game, maybe someone tipped TCU off that Michigan has a very good sign stealing program, and you have a month to change your defense. So,
if anybody were to figure out, of course, it'd be Sonny Dykes, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, there has been, like, I remember hearing that Ohio State was notified, I think by Michigan State in like 2022, that something's up here. They're stealing signs at a rate that's way too quick. I'm pretty sure it was Sparty who told us. And then that had the cogs turning.
Yeah, they hate Michigan so badly that they go to Ohio State.
No, yeah. Hey, from that angle, that is funny. Michigan State, they got to go to Ohio State to help beat Michigan because they can't do it on their own. That's funny. That is objectively very funny. But like, I will just say though, it's like, this is a Big Ten teams have been aware of this. Like, they have all known in the back of their head, like, be very careful, Michigan signs. Like, that's been a thing. I also just want to point out, when the initial reports came out, there were, I believe, like 60 randomly polled coaches. A majority of those coaches did say that this threatened the integrity of the sport. And a majority of coaches believed that this advantage was worth like 7 to 10 points spread wise in a game.
No, literally, yes.
That's what coaches were saying.
That's the thing that, like, Michigan was obviously a good enough team where
very
like,
good. I'm not
even
taking
10 to 17 points, not make like they're still winning.
For many of their games, it wouldn't have made a difference. Okay, shit. I will be man enough and say 2021-22 Ohio State. I don't really think it made a difference. They fucking smashed us. They smashed us. Okay, so I'm not acting like Ohio State would have won those games. I'm not saying that. But like, as a collective whole, everything changes. It, like, from a play calling perspective, your whole philosophy changes if you know with 100% certainty what their play call is. Now your play call changes. Like, so many things are influenced by it. Like, shit. From a defensive player perspective, you're Will Johnson. You're playing corner. You know it's a run. Are you going to play that a little bit differently or what? What do you think? Like,
maybe a little bit.
If you're a linebacker, if you're a DF linebacker,
like that also, like, let's think
you
about
know
this
it's
way.
A run, that
so
changes everything.
Remember when we had Shay on and Shay was talking about, it's like, yeah, when I know there's going to be a run, I'm going to try and run a little route or something. So that way, when I get later in the game, I can use that route and they'll think that it's a run.
Well, they know it's a run. They're not even going to look at you. They're sprinting right to, they're filling gap right away. It
does not matter at all.
Yeah. So with all this, it's like, it changes everything. And now we could talk about JJ McCarthy a little bit with the passing. I mean, I think it would be pretty helpful if you knew what defense they were running before every snap. And hey, if I was a head coach, if I was an offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore, if anything, Sharon Moore probably knows JJ McCarthy better than anyone. And I'm Sharon Moore, and now I don't know their signs with 100% certainty. Well, in theory, they still did. The scouting had already been done. If Stallions may have not been on the sideline to be the decoder, someone else could have learned the decoding, though. They had all the signs, guys. They already had it by then. But Sharon Moore did not trust his quarterback to throw the ball once. One time in the second half against Penn State, which at that point was their biggest game of the year. That's an interesting decision to me. That's a very interesting decision to me. And when you just look at JJ McCarthy's track record, the one game where he looked awful last year was Bowling Green, threw 3 interceptions in it. Now, this is pure speculation. But if I were going to be Michigan, Bowling Green, that might be a scouting trip where we don't need to make that one. We don't need to do that. But yeah, like if it's Illinois, yeah, we got scouts. So Wisconsin, oh yeah, we have everything scouted out. Any Big Ten team got the whole playbook.
They're really sending everybody for Rutgers.
Yeah, and now they have to send guys to TCU. Oh, what a headache. God, what a disaster. This shit's getting pretty expensive now. Holy shit. So yeah, I mean, if you want me to believe that Connor Stalions acted in complete independence and nobody else knew he was doing it, you're asking me to believe the entire Michigan coaching staff is just stupid and ignorant, which I refuse to believe. They're football coaches at one of the best universities.
And I highly doubt that
they're not stupid. They're pretty smart.
I don't think Michigan fans will say that their coaches are stupid either. So that's the other thing.
I don't think they'd say that either. So unless you guys want to tell me that your coaches are stupid.
Hey, if they want to admit that, I'm sure you'll take that too. But
yeah, if you want to admit it, then all right. This is a weird narrative you guys are going down, but sure, we can run with it.
We can roll with it.
But yeah, the whole Michigan scandal, it's cute, very fun. I can't wait for nothing to come out of this. Nothing's going to come out of this.
We'll see. I mean, this is an unprecedented situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the NCAA might also dissolve within the next 5 weeks. So with that in mind, I'm not even sure how much power they have anymore.
I don't know if the NCAA can or will fully dissolve. Maybe for football, but like as a whole entity, it can't.
Oh yeah, and also the very last thing, the new Big Ten commissioner will fight the new Big Ten commissioner doesn't want Michigan to get punted. Like they need Michigan to be good. Like the Big Ten right now, I mean, SEC guys, they just added UT and Oklahoma. Like right now, the brands in SEC are so big. Like we need to keep, from a Big Ten perspective, they need to keep Michigan on top, or else, like, well, shit, there's one of our cash cows. So the Big Ten will protect Michigan as much as they can.
No, yeah, I fully agree with that. With that, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Rate us 5 stars. You can find us on Spotify, TW, Twitter, and on Instagram at WaterboyPod. You can follow me and Grant on Twitter at Average Takes and at WaterboyGrant. We post episodes every Tuesday and Thursday on YouTube and all podcast platforms. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We also post on TikTok and on Instagram every week. So check us out there for exclusive content. And we now have a live streaming series goes live on TikTok and on YouTube. So if you want to catch up, check that out on YouTube. Otherwise, we'll be live and check us out there. So with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Waterboys out.